Please welcome CEO of IndiGo, Pieter Elbers, in discussion with Skift Airlines editor Gordon Smith.
Peter, welcome to the Skift India Forum. How are you?
Thank you. All well. Thank you so much.
Well.
Thank you for having me.
The airline business can feel like a numbers game, like a machine-based game, but you seem to be bringing a little bit more humanity to the role. Is that by accident or is that by design?
No, it's by belief rather. The thing which I use often internally is there's pretty much only 3 types of plane you can choose from, 4 types of seats you can use from, some limited catering choices you have. So what makes an airline different one against the other is the people you're having, right? Mm-hmm. So I think both from the airline side and at the end of the day, it's about our customers and the journey you fulfill for them. So I think that human aspect, both from the airline itself as well as from the consumer side, is incredibly important.
I follow you on LinkedIn, as I'm sure many of the audience members do as well. It seems like you're always breaking out of the big metro areas, getting into some lesser known towns, cities. What's the thinking there?
India is such an incredible treasure trove, really, of beautiful places and cities. And if you stay in Delhi, that's clearly India. But there's so much more out there. So I could not be more happy than travel around and visiting our teams. And today, IndiGo is flying to 90 different cities in the nation. It's really fantastic to be in all these different parts of India.
Talk us through what we're seeing here. Where is this?
This Pushkar.
Superb.
That's obviously Holi, and in Mathura. This was our celebration last year when IndiGo turned 18 years. That's at the end of the day, it's the people who make the difference, and that really is a great experience visiting all these different places.
We'll get on to people in a bit more detail in a moment, but I want to talk more broadly about IndiGo's market positioning, because it didn't seem that long ago that you were firmly in budget carrier territory. The tagline that I see in all of your press releases and in your media outreach now is India's preferred airline. At the risk of slipping into a little bit of AV geek jargon here, is 6E still an LCC?
We want to have cost leadership. And the Indian market is an incredible cost competitive and price sensitive and consumer value conscious market. So maintaining that cost leadership is incredibly important for us. And every step we do and every step we take is keeping that cost leadership in mind. Because if we weren't, you would be out of business. And I think that has been enough examples of that. Mm-hmm. Having said that, we believe that doesn't necessarily mean that you sort of brush away your customers. And right from the very start, IndiGo, 18 years ago, there were 3 customer promises: on-time performance, affordable fares, and a courteous and hassle-free service. And that is still the very foundation of what IndiGo is today.
There's no denying you're moving slightly more mid-market, if not up-market.
India is changing, and the India of 18 years ago is no longer the India of today, and the India in 5 years from now will not be the same India as it is today. So for us, being the preferred airline of the country and embracing the changes taking place, we should enrich our portfolio, building on the foundation what we're having, but we're really enriching our portfolio with new products.
Do you think there's a place for 2 full-service airlines in India?
You report all over the world. How many airlines, larger airlines are there in China? How many larger airlines are there in Europe? How many larger airlines are there in the US? So for India to have 2 large airline groups and then some new contenders or existing contenders around, I think that's a situation which is a reflection to what happens to other parts in the world.
But just to clarify, we're not talking about scale here, you're already huge. We're talking about the market positioning of IndiGo. A full service or mid-service carrier, do you think the country is ready for 2 or potentially more?
What is your definition of a full service carrier?
Not a low-cost carrier.
What's your definition of a low-cost carrier? If you take a classical low-cost in Europe, they fly to secondary airports. They fly relatively low frequency. They don't do cargo. They don't have loyalty. And so they have a certain sort of set of qualifications. IndiGo is flying 20 times a day, 40 sectors, back and forth between Delhi and Mumbai. We're flying to all the major airports, even more so. We're a market leader in all the major airports. We do have a good cargo operation. We started a loyalty program which is incredibly successful. So if you want to, how do I say it, Gordon? You put in whatever label you want to put on. That's your. I'm just running the ship. And that ship is making sure that the customer needs of India are well catered for the products we're having. And that product is a lot of first-time flyers, which are still out there. Millions and millions of Indians can now take the skies because of the competitive levels of IndiGo. But at the same time, we see an emerging and aspirational class of travelers, which we would like to cater for as well.
Okay, let's break away from the labels. That seems to be causing a little bit of agreement and disagreement there. Let's have a look at the product behind you, IndiGo Stretch, the business product. What has the market reaction been to that?
You know, we turned 18 last year. Last year, August, IndiGo became 18 years, which incredible if you think about it. It took IndiGo only 18 years to reach 100 million customers in a single year. I mean, there's some other very sizable airlines in the world which took about double the number of years for that. So that in itself. But in those 18 years, the market has changed a lot. IndiGo has changed, and the aspiration of India probably has changed as well. So we announced last year in August that we're going to start a business product on the nation's busiest and business routes. And if you fly 20 a day to Mumbai from Delhi, 15 a day to Bangalore, 14 a day to Hyderabad, I mean, that is nowadays a very different market than it used to be, right?
Sure.
So what we have introduced is 12 seats on a specific number of routes. Delhi-Mumbai is done, Delhi-Bangalore is done, and Delhi-Chennai will start by the end of this month. So we have selected basically the metro to metros, or the longer metro to metros rather, and that product is being introduced there. We get a new plane in every week with this new configuration, so by the end of this calendar year, we're pretty much done with all these routes. And the response has been very, very positive.
Are these generally metro routes that Air India mainline is operating on?
Yeah, of course, yeah, they're operating, and there's different sort of operators on those routes. I'm not so much concerned, you know, who's operating on which route. For us, it's important that the customer basis of IndiGo is growing. It's getting wider and wider because the penetration of air travel in India is still relatively limited compared to other parts of the world. So the part of the population which can afford air travel is just growing, and we're providing for that, so that base will be growing. But it's also going sort of up in the value chain, if you wish. And I think what we wanted to do at the right time is making these moves rather than being a few years from now and look around and say, oh, there's something we missed. So starting now is really preparing us for the future.
Talking of missed opportunities, one opportunity you haven't missed, and maybe quite the opposite you've seized upon, is long haul, taking on some damp leased Boeing 787s. The first long haul destinations, Amsterdam and Manchester. In the press release, you said these were subject to the completion of all operational preparedness and regulatory approvals. Peter, how are those discussions going?
You know, before I go to those approvals, I think what is important to recognize is international air travel in India for probably quite a long time was very much taken care of, for the lack of a better word, by non-Indian airlines. Yeah. And I think the opportunity is there to basically offer a product to our customers operated by an Indian operator. So we have embarked 3 years back on a rather ambitious internationalization program. And when I joined, a little short of 3 years back, we had in the low 20% of international ASKs. I do expect that this year we are 28, and next year we should go in the range of 30%. So we have pretty much doubled the destinations from 20 international to 40 now. And if people were to realize it now, we fly to Baku, Tbilisi, Almaty, Tashkent, all these new places in Central Asia. But that's only part of the equation. That is still, if you wish, in the region. And the further you go away from India, the lower the market share of Indian operators is. So I think there's a great opportunity for us to start addressing that market by our own planes. Therefore, we took the order for the 350s. 350s is coming in 27. But as I said in another interview earlier, India is surging, and so is IndiGo, or India is in a hurry, and so is IndiGo. So therefore, we didn't want to wait till 27, and we took these damp leases. Then you go to a process, and I will answer your question.
Please answer my question, yeah.
You go to a process of getting the approvals. I think we've done it extremely fast, getting the plane into Bangkok operation.
Yeah.
And now we go to Europe, and we need to, you need to register, you need to get the licenses. All these other companies are there around for decades. They have a long international network. I mean, we're young. So we are sort of establishing all that operation now. But I'm very confident that we get that sorted out.
Is July 2025 still the estimated launch?
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
As I said, India is in a hurry, and so is IndiGo.
Okay. When will the seats actually be on sale for these long-haul routes?
The seats will be on sale when that process of regulatory approvals has been finalized. And one of the things, and I think the operation to Bangkok was a nice demonstration. We started the operation on March 1st. We finally closed some of the discussions pretty much the week prior. In other parts of the world, people would be incredibly nervous to put wide-body planes 1 week before departure. In India, there's no such thing of being nervous 1 week before departure. Still plenty of time to plan, right? So this entire notion of last-minute booking, last-minute decision-making, especially to countries like Thailand who have waived their visa restrictions, you put in the capacity, you put it at the right price, you give the right product, and customers will go.
You mentioned price there, Pieter. Taking a quick look today, you can get from Amsterdam to Delhi or Delhi to Amsterdam in August for around 750 US, flying indirect via Turkish Etihad. Air India is wanting around 900 US. Where are you going to position the IndiGo fare?
What do you think? In IndiGo, coming back to the customer promises, 3 customer promises, one of them is affordable fares.
Yep.
Number 4, by the way, we have added, which is an unparalleled network. And therefore, our customers, wherever they want to go IndiGo, right? So the entire 91 destinations in India, 40 outside, so that will only grow. And we're gonna position that as a very price competitive tool.
Are you really going to be cheaper than the indirect options?
We're going to price it according to what we believe is the value in the product worth of it. And I'm very confident that if our customers can choose to fly, I mean, we're talking about wide bodies, but take a step back, we have a couple of dozens of XLR on order.
Sure.
The XLR can basically bring you not only from Delhi to Nairobi, which today we only do Mumbai to Nairobi, but can also bring you from Delhi to Geneva, or Delhi to Athens, or Kolkata to Seoul, or Chennai to Australia. So the geographical position of India will allow us really to have a fast network around with direct options for our customers. And then, yes, the pricing will be accordingly.
We saw the domestic route map flash up on the screen a few moments ago.
Nice, eh? We paint the country blue.
You paint the country blue.
Yeah.
There's 2 big new airports, there we go again. 2 big new airports coming on stream, Navi and Noida, serving Delhi and Mumbai respectively, as you know. IndiGo appears to be quite bullish on these 2 new gateways. When you join us at the forum next year, Pieter, how much capacity do you expect to have at these 2 new airports?
Well, that depends on 2 parameters, rather. One is what is going to be the ramp-up of capacity given at the airport. I mean, the airports will open and then they give a certain number of slots. So how much slots will they give? And 2, what would be our sort of allocation of our capacity coming in over these different airports. But the fact that, finally, I should say, India will have a dual airport in its 2 largest cities. That's the case already in many parts of the world, right? London, Paris, Tokyo, Shanghai, all have dual airports. Yeah. And we didn't have that in place yet in Delhi and Mumbai, whereas, I mean, one is the capital and the other one is sort of the commercial heart of the nation. And for that to have a dual airport is very much in line with what's happening in other parts of the world. So we're very committed on both locations to grow, to put our network, and to start further building that. And if you look at the geographical position and the catchment area, and especially here, Javer, you'll have parts of UP, parts of Faridabad, all that area is nicely connecting to that. And the same will go for Navi Mumbai. Mm-hmm. You know, that entire road between Mumbai and Pune, that will be entirely covered by that area.
New planes are great, new airports are great. You've got the single largest aircraft order in commercial aviation history with Airbus. That must have felt good. The wiggle room that you have within the narrow body order, how much can you tweak it according to, we want more XLRs, actually we need more 320s. Is that conversation very fluid with Airbus, or is it pretty much locked in?
Yeah, you were mentioning it. That must have been a special moment, and indeed it was. I mean, I work in aviation now, 33 years, and there are certain days in those years which you'll remember forever. And signing up on behalf of the company for 500 aircraft times the list price of it, it's a lot of billions.
But no one pays the list prices.
And so, no, but that's why I don't want to disclose the other price. So, so you sign up for that, which is really, it's sort of once in a lifetime.
Sure.
But what is more important than that personal satisfaction for a moment is that it gives IndiGo a line of sight for the next decade. If we have today 900 aircraft on order, we're the largest order book in the world. And that in itself positions us incredibly well for the next decade. And if we believe, and we do believe, that the next decade is India's decade, then IndiGo is extremely well positioned to have those 900 aircraft coming in, addressing this growing market.
You know as well as I do, Peter, ordering the planes is one thing, actually getting them into service is another. Are you worried that the talk of tariffs coming out of Washington and elsewhere could delay the manufacturing, potentially the delay, or even just the cost of the overall aircraft?
No, I think the order book IndiGo has is an incredible asset, and that order book is there. And I mean, just to highlight that, last year we took 58 new planes from Airbus. That's the world's largest taker of planes. If you look to the statistics there, proudly IndiGo is top of the chart. There's no other airline, and I think the total number of deliveries they were having was in the range of 700. So it was a little short of 8% was there. So one out of 12 or 1 out of 13 planes Airbus produces goes to IndiGo. That in itself is, it's fantastic.
You can't deny that tariffs are bad news for an airline leader.
Of course. The tariffs is a different discussion. I think they're still, if you ask me the question tomorrow, I'll probably give a different answer tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So,
answer the question today, go on.
Today on the Airbus sort of dynamics, there's no impact for us today. How will it be tomorrow? I don't know. But I think where I take a lot of confidence from is with that big order book we're having, we're extremely well positioned to deal with these fluctuations. So we have a very young fleet. For the third time in a row, we were recognized as the airline with the youngest fleet. We have flexibility to extend leases, what we have done. We have this enormous influx of planes coming in, and we have demonstrated to have a rather agile approach in getting temporary capacity. So I'm very confident that we'll be able to deal with that.
Campbell Wilson, I'm not even going to tell you who he is. I'm sure you know who he is by now.
Yeah.
He was sitting where you are a few hours ago. He said it could be 4 or 5 years before the aircraft shortage starts to ease. Is that a timeline that you're familiar with, that you recognize?
The system, if you wish, the global sort of ecosystem and delivery system clearly is under pressure, and I don't think I'll be in a position to put a precise point in time, and I have to rely here on what the likes of Airbus and Boeing are indicating. What is important for IndiGo is that we have such a strong order book that even with some fluctuations, and don't get me wrong, every delay is regrettable, and every delay I pick up the phone and I call Airbus and say, this is something we don't want. Yeah. But having said that, I think we are well positioned in addressing any fluctuations in that sense.
Trillions were knocked off the stock market in the past few weeks. Are you seeing any softness at all that might lend itself to an economic downturn or a recessionary sort of air?
When you look to air travel in India, I think it has two components like other parts of the world. One is, let me just call it, plain need for mobility. Yep. And the other one is more discretionary spending. So, people for their job traveling between different Indian cities or family and friends and all kind of festivals and all, that to some extent is just a need for mobility. That could go by train, it could go by plane. Yep. As long as we keep providing a cost competitive, good product, those numbers will continue to rise. Then there's the more discretionary spending, and especially we see an enormous amount of for the lack of a better word, Gen Z type of, hey, we need to travel, we want to get out there. And that, we don't see any softness. On the contrary, the last month, again, the market data was plus 11% going up. So we see some fluctuations throughout the year. Last year, May, with the elections, traffic was a bit down. Then there was the heat wave. So you see some fluctuations. But looking where IndiGo is, and looking where the Indian market is, I mean, we welcomed last year 130 million customers, 113. Prior to COVID, we had 78 or 75. Name me one market in the world where one could jump from 75 to. So even if there's a quarter with some fluctuations, which we don't see any softness yet, but even if there were to be, it doesn't take away anything from the sort of long-term perspective. And let me throw out a number here. I think I shared that before. India today is having anywhere between 800 and 900 planes. We have 400, so let's say India is having 800 planes. China is having 3,500 to 4,000. Same population, admittedly different GDP, different geographical setting. But that number just shows that this growth will continue to be there. So I'm not so concerned whether we have a quarter 6%, 7%, and then we have a quarter by 11%. But looking at the long term, this will continue to grow.
And considering India's growth trajectory, would you go as far to say it's almost insulated to a degree from global economic shocks because the trend is just so strong?
You know, the Indian economy, and again there, whether the growth percentage is 6.5 or 6.6 or 6.7, you know, to some extent, that will not materially change the demand for air travel, right? The Indian economy is on a trajectory of growth, taking its rightful position on the global stage. Today, the 5th largest economy in the world, by 27, the 3rd largest economy in the world. So that mobility part will continue to grow. The part which will continue to grow is the international spending and internationalization. So again, the precise percentage, and even less interesting, is the quarter-over-quarter fluctuations.
You can live with that.
But you know, it's a reality. What's happening in India today is probably what happened in China 15, 20 years ago. It's what happened in Europe before that and what happened in the US before. And that is a reflection we see at air travel. I'm sure with the folks in the hospitality business, you'll see the same thing.
Speaking of the US, Pieter, in recent weeks we've seen some major US airlines remove any sort of mention of DEI, that's diversity, equity and inclusion, from their annual reports, even from their websites. It strikes me that IndiGo is quite progressive in DEI, particularly in the region. Can you give a fresh commitment to your 6E Embrace program and DEI initiatives more broadly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're very proud of it. And if others take it from the website or not, that's none of our business. We live in India and we're proud of it. I'm proud that we have 200 people with disabilities who found a job in IndiGo. And every time I'm at an airport, and last time I was in Gwalior, a lady who couldn't speak, couldn't hear, couldn't speak, and working with us. And to have those people being part of the community, being welcomed by us, I'm very proud of it. So again, what others take on or off their website is the other choice. The fact that we're the world leader in terms of female pilots, 15% female pilots, it's something to be very proud of. So I think we have our commitments. We do it because we believe in it, and you know, we have 60,000 employees. We are part of the Indian society. So our workforce should be a reflection of the Indian society, and that should embrace all these different elements.
Back to India, it's relatively unusual, not completely unheard of. India's only got one airline that is a member of an international alliance. That's obviously Air India in the Star Alliance. Given your growing commercial partnerships with Delta, with Air France KLM, with Virgin Atlantic, when is IndiGo going to join SkyTeam?
You know, we have different partnerships, and we have actually stepped up the partnerships game. And a few years ago, we had a couple of historic partnerships with Qatar and Turkish, and more recently, we've stepped up with the likes of Japan Airlines and Qantas and kind of different. You know, again, here, looking at the geographical position of India, we work with different partners for different parts of the world. And then whatever part of alliance they are, it's not so relevant, maybe relevant for them, but not relevant for us. So I think our collaboration with Qantas is a great example. We fly from, by now, 10 different cities in India into Singapore. We connect to 6 Qantas flights going into Australia. So that in itself is a good thing for our customers. Then what part of whatever alliance they are, it's not so relevant. Where we will start sort of deepening some of those relationships going forward.
So just to be completely clear, alliances are not a priority for IndiGo at the moment?
No. Partnerships development is, but alliances is not. Again, the partnerships are at the very early stages. It has provided us a great opportunity. I mean, when I joined IndiGo 3 years ago, in Europe you didn't see IndiGo on any signage, right? Now we have the collaboration with Turkish Airlines. We co-chair to 35 destinations into Europe, 6 in the US, and suddenly when you walk to Venice Airport, you see, hey, there's IndiGo. And why is it relevant? It's relevant because when the XLR comes in and we start to fly directly to Venice or Geneva or wherever, hey, there's an IndiGo brand already out there.
Can I do a very quick fire round with you, just to wrap up? IndiGo has shown interest in eVTOLs, that's electronic vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, especially Archer. Can you share your vision on eVTOL, very briefly?
You know, I think that has a lot of technological dependencies we're waiting on. I think IndiGo has always been at the forefront, so we follow it closely, but it depends on technological advancement.
And is IndiGo using the recently delivered 787 on lease as an experiment for ultra-long-haul flights using the A350?
You know, there's still a lot of long-haul flying to do for us before we go to ultra-long-haul flying.
Thank you for the brevity in your answer there. One final one from me, 3 watchwords that you need to give our audience for the coming year.
You know, I would say customer promises. IndiGo is living consistently up to that. Digitization and internationalization. I would say those are the 3 core elements of what IndiGo continues to do.
Pieter, thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome.